The woman in the $2,000 suit pushed a wheelchair through the emergency entrance of Riverside Medical Center, like she was storming a battlefield. Her daughter sat motionless in the chair, 17 years old, and staring at nothing. Security tried to intercept them. The woman's voice cut through the waiting room, not loud, but absolute. "Get me whoever runs physical therapy, now!" Her desperation smelled like expensive perfume and sleepless nights. Across the lobby, Beckett Farris looked up from his daughter's homework and recognized what the expensive doctors had missed. The girl wasn't paralyzed. She was broken in a way money couldn't fix. He stood, his daughter Wren's hand in his, and walked toward the kind of trouble he'd spent 3 years avoiding. "Ma'am," he said quietly. "Let me help her." The cafeteria smelled like industrial bleach and overcooked meat. Beckett had worked at Riverside long enough that he didn't notice anymore. He sat across from Wren at their usual corner table, watching his 9-year-old daughter navigate her turkey sandwich with the careful concentration that came from having mild cerebral palsy. Her purple leg braces caught the fluorescent light. She'd chosen the color last month, said it made her feel like she could fly. "Dad, you're staring again." "Just making sure you're eating." "I'm 9, not 2. But she smiled, took another bite to prove her point. The commotion started near the main entrance. 2 security guards flanked a woman who moved like she owned the building, probably owned buildings plural. Her charcoal suit was cut too precisely to be off the rack. Her posture too straight to be anything but deliberate control. She was pushing a wheelchair. The teenage girl in it sat with perfect spinal alignment, hands resting loose in her lap, eyes fixed on the middle distance. Not paralyzed, Beckett thought immediately. The professional assessment came automatically, even though he'd left surgical practice 3 years ago. The girl's muscle tone was intact, no visible atrophy. Hands relaxed, but not limp. Psychological, not physical. The hospital administrator materialized, already wearing his apologetic but firm expression. "Ma'am, this is a county facility. We can refer you to several excellent private—" "I don't need referrals." The woman's grip tightened on the wheelchair handles. Each word came out precise as a scalpel cut. "I need someone competent to see my daughter. Today." Wren tugged Beckett's sleeve. "Dad, that girl looks really sad." She was right. Beneath the blank expression, something haunted lived behind the teenager's eyes. Beckett recognized that look. He'd seen it twice before in his surgical residency. Conversion disorder, the body shutting down what the mind couldn't process. Both patients had been adults, never someone this young. He stood before he'd decided to. Old instincts, older than his current job as a physical therapist, older than his daughter's diagnosis. The instinct that had made him a decent trauma surgeon before everything fell apart. "Excuse me." He approached slowly, hands visible and non-threatening. "Is she responsive? Has she been evaluated for psychological trauma presenting as physical?" The woman's head snapped toward him. Her eyes were the color of winter ice. "Who are you?" "Physical therapist. I work upstairs." He kept his voice level, professional. "I notice her positioning suggests she's not experiencing actual paralysis. I've had 14 specialists examine my daughter. Each word landed like a hammer. The best neurologists in the country, Johns Hopkins, Mayo Clinic. I don't need a county employee's opinion." She started to turn the wheelchair away. The girl made a sound, small, wounded, involuntary. Her hand moved fractionally, reaching toward something. Toward Wren, Beckett realized. Toward the purple leg braces. The woman froze. Beckett crouched beside the wheelchair, ignored the woman entirely. "Hey there. I'm Beckett. That's my daughter Wren. We're not scary, promise." The girl's eyes shifted, focused on his face. First genuine movement he'd seen from her. Her fingers extended. Trembling slightly, still reaching toward Wren's braces. The woman inhaled sharply. "What did you do?" "Nothing. Just talk to her like a person." The woman studied him like he was a complex equation missing variables. "You're a therapist. Physical therapist." "Yes, but I don't specialize in conversion disorder. Your daughter needs psychiatric care, trauma therapy, not." "She's had that. 6 months of it. The best psychiatrists money can buy." The woman's jaw tightened. "It doesn't work." "Then you need different psychiatrists. I work with physical disabilities. I can't." "Name your price." Beckett stood. "I'm not for sale. And your daughter isn't a transaction you can solve by throwing money at it. Everyone has a price, Mr. "Not everyone." He took Wren's hand. "Good luck finding someone who can actually help." They made it 4 steps before the woman spoke again. The corporate edge had vanished from her voice, replaced by something raw and desperate. "Please." Beckett stopped. "I'm not asking as a client. I'm asking as a mother who's watching her daughter disappear and doesn't know how to stop it. Please." Wren looked up at him with those eyes that saw through all his defenses. "Dad, can we just visit her? One time?" The woman's name was Thayer Ashford. Beckett learned that much before they left the cafeteria. Also, that she lived in Sewickley Heights, the kind of neighborhood where houses had names instead of numbers, and that she'd donate $50,000 to Riverside's pediatric therapy fund if he'd come visit her daughter. Just once. "I don't want your money for myself," Beckett said. "I gathered that." Thayer pulled out a business card, wrote an address on the back. "Saturday, 2 o'clock. My housekeeper will let you in." "Why can't you?" She paused, hand extended with the card. "Because I'm not very good at being home." After they left, Beckett looked up Thayer Ashford on his phone. CEO of Ashford Industries, major biomedical company, estimated net worth north of $3 billion. Widowed 18 months ago. 1 daughter. The articles about her were all corporate. Mergers, patents, market dominance. Nothing about the girl in the wheelchair. Nothing about whatever had broken her badly enough that she'd stopped walking, despite being medically fine. Saturday came too fast. The Ashford estate required a security code just to open the front gate. The driveway stretched for what felt like a quarter mile, lined with trees that probably cost more than Beckett's annual salary. The house itself looked like something from a magazine, all glass and sharp angles, modern and cold. Wren pressed her face against the car window. Whoa, people actually live here? Apparently. It doesn't look very cozy. She was right. It looked like a museum where people happened to sleep. The housekeeper who answered the door radiated the kind of warmth the house lacked. Late 50s, silver hair, comfortable shoes. "You must be Mr. Farris. I'm Wren. Ms. Ashford is in a conference call, but she said to bring you straight up." Of course she was in a conference call. On a Saturday. Beckett wondered if Thayer Ashford had ever spent a full day just being present with her daughter. He suspected the answer was no. Wren led them upstairs, her voice dropping to a confidential whisper. "Ms. Ashford doesn't usually have visitors, not since Mr. Ashford passed. This is good for Devlin, having people around." Devlin. The girl in the wheelchair finally had a name. They found Thayer outside a closed bedroom door. She'd traded the business suit for expensive casual wear that somehow made her look more uncomfortable than the corporate armor hat. Her hand hovered near the door handle like she was afraid to turn it. "She's been quiet today," Thayer said. Translation: "Please fix this impossible thing in the next hour." More withdrawn than usual. "Can we have some time alone with her?" Beckett asked. Thayer's shoulders went rigid. "I should stay, in case she needs some. Trust me, or this won't work." Something flickered across her face. Hurt, maybe. Or fear of losing even more control than she'd already lost. But she nodded stiffly and stepped back. Beckett wondered if Thayer Ashford had ever trusted anyone in her entire life. The answer seemed to be carved into every tense line of her body. Devlin's bedroom was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked manicured grounds that stretched toward distant trees. Expensive adaptive equipment filled one corner. Hospital bed, parallel bars, mobility aids that looked brand new and completely untouched. Devlin sat in her wheelchair facing the windows, 17 years old, and already an expert at disappearing while remaining visible. Beckett didn't approach directly. He sat on the plush carpet a few feet away, back against the wall. Wren followed his lead, settling beside him with her backpack. "Wow," Wren said, pulling out her math homework. "Your room is like 50 times bigger than mine. I could probably fit my whole building in here." She uncapped a purple marker that matched her braces. "Do you like math? I think it's super boring, but Dad makes me do it anyway." Devlin's eyes moved slightly, tracked Wren's movements, the first spark of genuine attention Beckett had seen. He kept his voice conversational, not therapeutic. "Wren does physical therapy 3 times a week at Riverside. Not because anything's wrong with her. Her body just works differently than other kids. That's okay." Wren stood, demonstrating her gait without self-consciousness. The braces made each step deliberate, careful. She'd learned years ago that most people were too busy with their own problems to judge a kid with purple leg braces. And the ones who did weren't worth worrying about. "See? Kinda wobbly, but it gets me where I need to go. Dad says everybody needs help sometimes. Some people need braces, some people need glasses, some people need other stuff." She returned to her homework, already absorbed in the math problems she'd claimed to hate. Devlin's hand moved. Slow, uncertain, like the movement itself required enormous courage. She touched the wheelchair armrest, then jerked back like the contact had burned her. First voluntary movement. Beckett filed it away, didn't react outwardly. They stayed for 90 minutes. Wren talked about school, her favorite books, the stray cat that lived near their apartment building and definitely didn't belong to them even though they fed it every morning. Normal 9-year-old things. Devlin never spoke, but she listened. Her eyes tracked everything Wren did. Near the end of the visit, when Wren showed her a drawing from art class, something abstract with lots of purple, Devlin's fingers trembled toward the paper. She didn't touch it, but the intention was there, clear as words. Progress. Real progress. Thayer intercepted them in the hallway. Her professional armor had reassembled itself, shoulders back, expression carefully neutral. Only her hands betrayed her. They twisted together, knuckles bone white. I saw her move, through the baby monitor. She gestured toward a discreet camera mounted in the hallway. Of course she'd been watching. Of course she couldn't just trust the process. "What did you do?" "Your daughter's aware of everything around her," Beckett said. "She's choosing not to engage. That's fundamentally different from being unable to engage." "So how do I fix it? What's the treatment plan? How long until—" "You don't fix her. She's not broken. She's traumatized. You be with her through it." Thayer's expression shuddered like blast doors slamming closed. "I am with her. Every single day. I rearranged my entire work schedule. I take meetings from home now. I'm here." Being physically present isn't the same as being emotionally available. Her eyes went winter cold. "You don't know anything about my life. You don't know what I've sacrificed, what I've—" "You're right. I don't." Beckett kept his voice gentle but firm. "But I know what it looks like when someone's running from grief instead of feeling it. And your daughter knows the difference too." Thayer's mouth opened, closed, for one unguarded moment. The CEO mask slipped and something raw and terrified showed through. Then her spine straightened and the armor locked back into place. "Thank you for coming. My assistant will contact you about scheduling regular visits. 2 a week? 3 times? I have a full-time job. I have my own daughter's medical appointments, therapy sessions. I can't. I'll pay you $15,000 per session, $20,000, however much it takes." The numbers hit like physical blows. Beckett thought about Wren's upcoming surgery, the medical bills that kept arriving, the student loans from medical school, that never seemed to shrink despite years of payments. He thought about how easy it would be to say yes, to take the money, and pretend it was for noble reasons. No. Thayer blinked. I'm sorry? I said no. I'm not taking your money. But I'll bring Wren to visit your daughter. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, after my shift, and before Wren's therapy. No charge, no guarantees. And if it stops helping, we stop coming. Then what do you want? Everyone wants something. Donate to Riverside's Pediatric Therapy Fund. They're facing massive budget cuts. Kids are going to lose access to care. Keep that from happening. That's the price. Thayer studied him like he was a puzzle with missing pieces. That's all you want? For other people's children? That's all. For the first time since they'd met, Thayer Ashford looked genuinely uncertain. I don't understand you. I know, Beckett said quietly. That's exactly the problem. They came every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 weeks. Beckett timed it perfectly. Leave Riverside at 5:30, drive to Sewickley Heights, spend an hour with Devlin, rush back for Wren's 7 o'clock therapy session. It meant eating dinner at 8:30 and falling into bed exhausted. But it was worth it. Devlin responded to Wren in ways she didn't respond to anyone else. Small things, extended eye contact, the ghost of a smile when Wren told a terrible joke about a chicken and a library. Once, briefly, she touched Wren's hand when Wren showed her a rock she'd found that supposedly looked like a dinosaur egg. Thayer was always there, always hovering in the doorway or watching from the hall, never fully entering Devlin's space. Beckett tried to teach her basic therapeutic presence. Just sit with your daughter. No agenda, no problem solving, no managing. She couldn't do it. Every time she entered the room, her discomfort filled the space like electrical static. Devlin would visibly withdraw, shutting down the small progress she'd made. One Thursday evening, Beckett found Thayer in her study. 3 monitors displayed real-time data from Ashford Industries. Stock prices, manufacturing reports, development timelines. She was on a video conference, her voice crisp and commanding as she dissected someone's quarterly projections. The CEO who couldn't exist in her daughter's bedroom. He waited until she finished, muted the call. You can't keep managing her from a distance, he said. Thayer closed her laptop with controlled precision. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. You watch from doorways. You monitor her on cameras. You never just sit with her and let her feel what she's feeling. I'm protecting her from what? Emotions? Pain? Life? Beckett leaned against the doorframe. You can't manage grief like it's a corporate problem. There's no quarterly report that makes it better. Her expression went glacial. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then explain it to me. Silence stretched between them. Outside the windows, the estate's landscaping lights created geometric patterns across the lawn. Everything controlled, everything managed, everything except the one thing that mattered. Thayer stood abruptly, moved to the window. Her reflection in the glass looked like a stranger even to herself. My husband was the parent. Her voice came out flat, corporate, delivering bad news to shareholders. That was our arrangement. I built the company. He managed Devlin's life, school, activities, doctor appointments, emotional needs. It worked. We had clear roles. Until it didn't. Until he drove her to a piano recital I was too busy to attend, and wrapped the car around a telephone pole on Route 28. Her hands pressed against the window frame. I'd missed the previous 6 recitals. Board meetings, investor calls, crisis management. Always something more urgent. He asked me to come to just one. Just one. Beckett said nothing. Sometimes silence was the only useful response. She hasn't said my name since his funeral, Thayer continued. Her voice stayed level, but her hands trembled. 412 days. I've counted every single one. She looks at me like I'm a stranger. Maybe I am. Maybe I always was. So stop being a stranger. I don't know how. The confession seemed to cost her everything. I don't know how to just be with her, without an agenda, without trying to fix things. Then learn, the same way Wren learned to walk with her braces. Slowly, badly, falling down, getting help, trying again. Thayer turned from the window. Her eyes were wet, but no tears fell. And if I can't? What if I'm fundamentally incapable of being what she needs? Then you'll lose her twice. Once to trauma, once to your own fear. The crisis detonated in week 4. Beckett had just finished a session with a 7-year-old stroke patient when Fallon appeared in the therapy gym doorway. His colleague's face was pale, almost gray. Beckett. Conference room. Now. Administration wants you. The conference room held 6 people. The hospital administrator sat at the head of the table, flanked by 2 men in dark suits who screamed corporate attorney. Thayer Ashford sat rigidly across from them, her face unreadable. Beside her was a 3rd suit, her own lawyer, Beckett guessed. And at the far end of the table sat a man Beckett had never seen before. Late 40s, expensive watch, predatory smile. The administrator gestured to an empty chair. Dr. Farris, please sit. Doctor. They never called him that. Not since he'd left surgery and retreated into the safer waters of physical therapy, where the stakes were lower and the catastrophic failures belonged to someone else. One of the unknown suits spoke first. Dr. Farris, we represent the Pennsylvania Medical Board. We've received a formal complaint regarding your treatment of a minor patient outside established medical protocols. The room tilted slightly. I'm not treating anyone. I'm making personal visits as a family friend. You're a licensed medical professional engaging in therapeutic interventions with a patient diagnosed with conversion disorder, without proper documentation, institutional oversight, or informed consent protocols. The suit slid a folder across the table. That constitutes practicing medicine outside appropriate channels, potentially grounds for suspension or revocation of your license. Beckett looked at Thayer. She wouldn't meet his eyes. Ms. Ashford didn't file this complaint, the lawyer said smoothly. But the medical board received an anonymous tip with substantial documentation. Photographs of your visits to the Ashford estate. Detailed descriptions of your interactions with the patient. Treatment modalities you've been employing. Understanding clicked into place. Someone's been leaking information from inside her house. The man at the end of the table, the one who didn't belong, smiled slightly. Thayer's jaw clenched so hard Beckett could see the muscle jump. The administrator cleared his throat. Dr. Farris, given your history, my history isn't relevant to this conversation. Your voluntary resignation from surgical practice 3 years ago is absolutely relevant. You left before the hospital board could complete their formal investigation into. I didn't resign. I chose different work. Beckett's voice came out harder than intended. There's a significant difference. The medical board suit leaned forward. The complaint alleges you're using a vulnerable patient to rehabilitate your professional reputation, possibly positioning yourself to return to surgical practice without completing the previous ethics review. That's insane. Is it? You were a chief resident on track for trauma surgery, youngest in your program. Then your wife left, your daughter was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and you walked away from a career most doctors spend their lives building. The suit tapped the folder. Now, you're closely involved with a billionaire's disabled daughter, providing unlicensed treatment. The optics are questionable at best. Beckett stood. I'm done listening to this. Sit down, Dr. Farris. No. He looked directly at Thayer for the first time. Did you know about this complaint before today? She finally met his eyes. Her expression was stone. My board raised concerns about liability, about the appearance of About the appearance of a failed surgeon and his crippled kid getting too close to the billionaire CEO. The words came out bitter, cruel. He regretted them immediately, but couldn't take them back. Bad optics for the brand. That's not what I... Save it. He headed for the door. I hope you find someone more appropriate to help your daughter. Someone who looks better in the press releases. Beckett, wait. He didn't. The door closed behind him with a soft, final click. In the hallway, the hospital felt different. Hostile, judging. People stared as he passed. Someone had leaked this deliberately, timed it perfectly. Beckett wondered which of Thayer's executives wanted him gone badly enough to destroy his medical license in the process. Wren was waiting in his small office, curled up in the visitor chair reading about marine biology. She looked up when he entered, saw his face, and understood immediately. We're not going back to see Devlin, are we? No, sweetheart. We're not. She nodded slowly, closing her book. Is she going to be okay? I don't know. That's really sad. Wren's voice was small. She was starting to smile. Like actual smiles. I saw one on Tuesday. I know. Beckett pulled her into a hug, felt her small arms wrap around his waist. I know, baby. 3 weeks of silence followed. Beckett threw himself into work, picked up extra shifts, stayed busy enough that he didn't have time to think about Devlin sitting in that wheelchair staring out the window. Didn't have time to wonder if she'd regressed. Didn't have time to imagine Thayer hovering in the doorway, still unable to bridge the gap between herself and her daughter. Wren didn't mention the visits, but she drew pictures of 2 girls, one with purple braces, one in a wheelchair, playing together. She left them on the kitchen table where Beckett would find them in the morning. The call came on a Tuesday evening. Unknown number, Pittsburgh area code. Beckett almost didn't answer. Mr. Farris, this is Bryn, from the Ashford house. He should hang up, should protect himself from whatever fresh disaster this represented. He didn't. How can I help you? It's Devlin. She's gotten worse, much worse. She stopped eating, stopped acknowledging anyone's presence at all. Ms. Ashford brought in 2 new psychiatrists, but... A pause, heavy with meaning. Yesterday she drew something, a purple line. I think she means Wren's braces. I think she's asking for your daughter. Beckett closed his eyes. I can't help. The medical board investigation was dropped yesterday. Ms. Ashford handled it. What do you mean, handled it? I don't know the details, but she fired 3 board members last week. There was a massive confrontation. I heard shouting. I've never heard Ms. Ashford shout before. Bryn's voice softened. She specifically told me not to call you. Said she'd already caused enough damage. But Devlin needs help. And my loyalty is to that child, not to pride. Wren appeared in the doorway, listening. She didn't say anything. Just looked at him with those eyes that had seen him at his worst and loved him anyway. Tomorrow, Beckett heard himself say. We'll come tomorrow. The Ashford estate looked the same. Perfect landscaping, cold modern architecture, security gate that opened smoothly on well-maintained hinges. But something fundamental had shifted. It took Beckett a moment to identify what. Thayer answered the door herself. No Bryn acting as buffer. No professional armor of designer suits. She wore jeans and an old university sweatshirt with paint stains on the sleeves. Her hair was pulled back messily. She looked exhausted. She looked terrified. She looked human. You came, Bryn called. I told her not to. Thayer stepped back, letting them enter. I'm sorry. About the investigation. My CFO orchestrated the whole thing. Garrett Preston. He thought he could leverage Devlin's situation to force me out, install himself as CEO. He's been systematically undermining me for months. Thayer, I fired him. And I'm prosecuting him for corporate espionage, breach of fiduciary duty, and about 6 other charges my lawyers came up with. Her voice was flat, matter of fact, delivering quarterly results. Then I told the PR team absolutely not when they suggested using Devlin's recovery as a damage control story for the company. It cost me 3 more board members. Stock dropped 21% in 2 days. The remaining board called an emergency vote to remove me as CEO. Wren tugged Beckett's hand. Can I go see Devlin now? Thayer nodded. She's upstairs. Same room. As Wren headed up, she knew the way by now. Beckett stayed. What happened with the medical board? I made some strategic calls, explained the situation, clarified that you weren't providing unlicensed medical treatment, just spending time with my daughter as a friend of the family. Thayer's mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. Then I donated $7 million to expand their pediatric rehabilitation programs statewide. Interesting how quickly people reconsider their positions when funding appears. You can't buy your way out of everything. No, but I can protect the people who matter when I have the resources to do it. She glanced toward the stairs. I've been trying to be present with her. Like you said, it's significantly harder than running a multi-billion-dollar company. It's supposed to be hard. I'm terrible at it. Everyone is at first. Beckett studied her. The CEO mask had cracked clean through. Underneath was just a scared mother who'd lost her husband and didn't know how to reach her traumatized daughter. Show me. Show me what you've been trying. They climbed the stairs together. Devlin sat in her wheelchair in the exact position she'd occupied weeks ago, facing the window, staring at nothing. But thinner now. More absent. More ghost than girl. Wren sat cross-legged on the carpet nearby, not speaking, just present, offering quiet companionship. Thayer stopped in the doorway. Muscle memory. Habit. Beckett touched her elbow gently. Come on. All the way in. She let him guide her into the room, sat stiffly on the carpet beside Wren. Her movements were awkward, uncomfortable. She clearly had no idea where to put her hands, or how to arrange her body in informal space. I don't know what to say to her, Thayer whispered. Then don't say anything. Just exist, here. With her. They sat in silence. 5 minutes. 10. Thayer's discomfort was visceral, visible in every tense muscle and controlled breath. But she stayed. That was something. That was everything. Devlin's head turned, slowly, like moving through deep water. She looked at her mother sitting on the floor, not hovering in doorways, not watching through monitors, not managing from a distance, just sitting, present, uncertain, trying. Devlin's hand moved, extended toward Thayer, shaking badly, uncertain whether the contact would be accepted or rejected. Thayer took it. Her own hands trembled just as violently. They stayed like that, connected, silent, both crying without making sound. Wren caught Beckett's eye. He nodded toward the door. They slipped out quietly, leaving mother and daughter alone together for the first time since before the accident. In the hallway, Beckett heard them. Soft at first, then building. Real crying. The kind that came from somewhere deep and broken. And finally acknowledged. 4 days later, the story broke. Paparazzi had been staking out the estate for weeks, drawn by the corporate drama, the board fight, the stock volatility. Someone got photos of Beckett and Wren leaving. High-resolution images of a man in hospital scrubs and a young girl with leg braces getting into a 10-year-old Honda. The tabloid headlines were predictable. Billionaire CDO's secret romance? Mystery man at Ashford Mansion. Is this why she's losing control of her company? By noon, it had gone viral. By evening, the mainstream business press picked it up. Ashford Industries stock dropped another 12%. The board issued a statement calling for Thayer's immediate resignation. Beckett's phone exploded with calls. Reporters, hospital administration, even his ex-wife's lawyer, wondering if this affected custody arrangements. He ignored all of them, turned off his phone, and tried to pretend the world wasn't watching. Thayer called a press conference for the next morning. Beckett didn't plan to watch. He was halfway through a therapy session with a 5-year-old burn patient when Fallon burst in. "Conference room. Now. You need to see this." The staff had gathered around the television. Thayer stood at a podium, facing what looked like every major media outlet in the state. She wore a simple black suit. No jewelry. No makeup. No armor. "I'm here to address the speculation regarding my personal life and my fitness to lead Ashford Industries." Her voice was steady, clear. "The man in those photographs is Beckett Farris. He's a physical therapist at Riverside Medical Center and the father of a remarkable 9-year-old girl named Wren. He is not my employee. He's not my romantic partner. He's the person who showed me I was failing my daughter by trying to manage her grief instead of feeling it with her." The press corps erupted with questions. Thayer waited for silence. 18 months ago, my husband died in a car accident. My daughter Devlin was in the car. She survived physically but developed severe psychological trauma. 3 months ago, she stopped walking, stopped speaking. The best specialists I could buy were unsuccessful. Then I met Mr. Farris, and he did something revolutionary. He treated my daughter like a person instead of a problem to be solved. Someone shouted a question about the board vote. Thayer ignored it. "I've spent the last 4 months learning something I should have known all along. You can't delegate parenthood. You can't manage grief like a quarterly report. And you can't buy your way into the kind of presence your child needs when they're breaking." Her voice cracked slightly. "I was absent when my husband needed me. Absent when my daughter needed me. I chose board meetings over piano recitals. I chose conference calls over family dinners. I built an empire and lost my family in the process." Thayer looked directly into the cameras. "The board will vote this afternoon on whether to remove me as CEO. I won't fight it. My daughter is finally starting to heal. I won't sacrifice that for stock prices or shareholder value or corporate legacy. I failed her once. I won't fail her again." The press conference ended. Silence filled the conference room at Riverside. Someone had tears streaming down their face. Someone else was clapping softly. Beckett felt like he couldn't breathe. His phone, which he'd turned back on, rang. "Thayer." "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Yes, I did." Her voice was quiet. "Truth is all I have left. I'm done performing. What happens now?" "Emergency board meeting at 2. They'll remove me. I've already transferred the majority of my shares into a trust for Devlin. She'll be protected regardless of what happens to the company." A pause. "Will you still bring Wren on Thursday? I know this is a circus now, but Devlin's been asking." "In her way. We'll be there." The board vote was unanimous. Thayer Ashford, who'd built the company from nothing, who held more biomedical patents than anyone else in the industry, who'd turned a startup into a $3 billion empire, was removed as CEO effective immediately. The stock recovered within a week. The new CEO was competent, steady, appropriately boring. Shareholders adapted. The company would be fine. Thayer, for the first time in her adult life, went home. The healing happened slowly. Devlin started physical therapy at Riverside. Actual, documented, appropriate care with a full treatment team. Beckett supervised, but didn't treat her directly. Professional boundaries mattered. She walked with assistance within 6 weeks, started talking in short sentences, still quiet, still carrying enormous trauma, but present, engaged with the world again. Thayer came to every session. At first she hovered, tried to manage, reverted to old patterns. Beckett called her out each time. She learned. Slowly. Imperfectly. But she learned. The day Devlin walked unassisted from the parallel bars to her mother's arms, everyone in the therapy gym stopped to watch. Thayer caught her daughter, held her, and for once didn't try to control her crying. Just let it happen. Let the healing hurt. Wren, watching from her own parallel bars, grinned. "See, Devlin? I told you you'd beat me eventually." 2 months after the press conference, Beckett got a job offer. Director of Pediatric Rehabilitation at a larger hospital system. Significant pay increase. Better resources. Opportunity to build something meaningful. He was terrified to accept it. Thayer found him in the Riverside parking lot, staring at the offer letter in his car. She tapped on the window. He rolled it down. "You're scared," she observed. "It's a big change. You told me to stop performing safety. Don't you perform it either." "I'm not. Staying small because it feels manageable?" "Yes, you are." She leaned against his car. "Wren deserves to see you try, the same way Devlin needed to see me try. What if I fail? Then you fail, and you try again, like the rest of us." Thayer smiled slightly. "Take the job, Beckett. Build something that matters." He took the job. 6 months after that first encounter in the hospital cafeteria, Beckett arrived at Riverside for his final day, before starting the new position. Wren was with him. Teacher in service day. She'd begged to come say goodbye to everyone. Thayer's car pulled into the parking lot. Not the town car with the driver. Her own sedan. Devlin got out of the passenger seat independently. Walked toward the entrance with only the slightest limp remaining. She saw Wren through the glass doors, and her face transformed into an actual smile. The two girls met inside the lobby, hugged like the friends they'd become. Different ages, different circumstances, bonded by something deeper than shared experience. Bonded by showing up for each other when showing up was hard. Thayer and Beckett stood back, watching their daughters head toward the therapy gym together. "She asked about her father last night," Thayer said quietly. "Wanted to talk about the accident, about what she remembers. I almost deflected, almost changed the subject to something safer." "What did you do?" "Sat with her. Listened. We both cried for about an hour." Thayer's voice wavered. "It was the hardest conversation I've ever had. Harder than any board meeting. Harder than building the company. Harder than losing everything. But you had it." "Yeah." She looked at him. "Thank you. For not letting me hide. Thank you for not staying hidden." From inside the therapy gym, Wren's voice carried. "Race you to the end, Devlin. Loser buys ice cream." Devlin laughed. An actual laugh, bright and genuine. "You're so on. I'm totally going to win this time." "You always say that." They headed toward the parallel bars together, competitive and comfortable. Two kids just being kids. Beckett watched them through the window, felt Thayer beside him, learning to let her daughter take risks and face challenges without intervening. Neither of them had fixed anything, but both had shown up. That seemed to be enough. The morning light caught Wren's purple braces as she moved through her warm-up exercises. Devlin beside her, matching her pace, supporting her when she wobbled. Healing wasn't dramatic, wasn't instantaneous, just daily work, small choices. Showing up even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Beckett turned toward his car. Thayer headed back to hers. They exchanged a look. Two people who'd learned, slowly and badly and painfully, that presence mattered more than perfection. That trying mattered more than succeeding. That love wasn't about having all the answers, just about staying in the room when things got difficult. The clinic doors closed behind the girls, therapy session beginning, life continuing. That was enough. That was everything.